Hey, this is Mike McAdam for Gen X Guitar. Today I'm going to talk about Jimmy Page's superpower. Okay, so what is Jimmy Page's superpower? Well, he dressed like a superhero. Does that count? Seriously, I mean, anyway, so there's a lot of discussion. If you look at the four major guitar players of the late 60s, early 70s, we got Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, and Jimi Hendrix. One of the things I think is really cool about those guys is they're all uniquely talented. They're all uniquely brilliant, but they have different things they do that don't necessarily cross over with each other. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, including a professional engineer I know, that, yeah, Jimmy Page is not in the same class as a guitarist as those other three guys. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think just what he does is different. So what I think his superpower is his writing ability. If you look at his writing ability as a guitarist, it is levels above those other guys. I'm sorry. His ability to write, orchestrate, put together guitar parts and musical ideas is just on a whole other level. That is his superpower. Now, is Jimmy Page a sloppy guitarist? That's a debate. I think Jimmy Page's other thing that he does incredibly well is there is a difference between what he's trying to play and what's coming out. He has some of the coolest ideas and licks out there. Are they executed perfectly? No. And I'm kind of glad they aren't, because now in the age of the Instagram guitarist where guys can play a gazillion miles per hour, it's like the old joke, talking loud and saying nothing. I just don't hear the creativity, the going for it, the gambler's mentality with a lot of these players. I think Page put a lot of that out there in this sort of visceral sense, and it was far from perfect at times, but some of the riffs and ideas he had were just incredible, and I haven't heard really any other guitarist be able to do that since then. So this is going to be a short video, but again, that's what I think is Jimmy Page's superpower. His writing ability, his arranging ability. You know, as great of a soloist as someone like Jeff Beck is, you were never going to see him write the Rain Song or something like that. I would say Hendrix was probably the closest as far as having things that from a writing perspective were incredible, but they just weren't on that level. And it was just different things. So if you enjoy that approach, Jimmy Page is your guy. Someone like Eric Clapton is, I think, one of the reasons he's been so successful is his playing is very easy on the ears. It's intentionally simple stuff that's just put together incredibly well. So that's all I have for today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and liking and checking out some more of our content. I'll see you in the next video.
I'll say this about Jimmy Page. Riffs on a completely other level that no one else has obtained, period.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm not disagreeing with you, but like Tony Iommi, Hetfield.
Nah. There's something magical about Jimmy Page's riffs. His lead playing, you know, is a little bit sloppy. I'll just say it out loud. It's fine. Yeah. I'm not the king of guitar.
You are.
But yeah. His riffs are bananas. They're on a level of like almost they're possessed. I mean, they're so good. They really are.
So let me ask you this. Like, okay, if Page is here, where do you put Eddie as far as riffs?
Well, Eddie is a different type of riff guy with an amazing rhythm sense, whereas Page has this melodic riff that is haunting.
Yeah.
You know?
Some of Page's stuff, I don't know where it's coming from. Like, some of it's like, okay, it's blues oriented, but there's other things that he came up with where I can't trace it to anything. So yeah, it just has a different thing about it. You listen to stuff like Whole Lotta Love or Moby Dick, it just has this swagger and attitude to it that's just so awesome. Just his writing and ability to capture that, you know, not only that, as a producer, like Page knew how to, okay, we've got Bonham, we've got John Paul Jones. How do we harness that and make it devastating? And they did. I always say any musician, any artist, you only have so many bullets in your gun.
Sure.
Okay, so, and you're more inclined to use them in your 20s and 30s because you're not thinking of things the same way as you are when you're older. I mean, there's exceptions, no question about it.
Can an artist realize when they've peaked?
While it's happening or afterwards?
Well, I mean, I guess while it's happening, because you can always look back afterwards. And
Yeah, but I don't know. I wonder at what point, you may think you've hit a plateau and then you go yet even higher. Or maybe there's that moment where you're like, okay, this is as good as it gets. I don't know how I'm ever going to top this. I'm sure it comes in a lot of different flavors. There's probably moments where artists also believed at that time that what they were doing was the best thing they'd ever done, sincerely. And then in retrospect, they're like, yeah, that kind of sucks now I listen back to it.